Today is April 26th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It's a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we're going to be reading from Personal Stories, Part 2, They Stopped in Time. We're going to be reading, beginning story number 9, It Might Have Been Worse, pages 348 through 350. And out of the 12 and 12, we are going to continue our journey through Step 12 by reading page 124 today. Almost done with Step 12. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. Life is good over here. We've been given a brand new set of 24 hours. You know, we can learn some things from yesterday, but hey, today is a new day. Brand new, clean slate. What are we going to do with it? Today we decide to be who we want to be. So with that, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So out of the Big Book, again, we're going to be reading the story for number 9. These are all the ones that stopped in time. And this one's called It Might Have Been Worse. Alcohol was a looming cloud in the banker's bright sky. With rare foresight, he realized that it could become a tornado. How can a person with a fine family, an attractive home, an excellent position, and high standing in an important city become an alcoholic? As I later found out through Alcoholics Anonymous, alcohol is no respecter of economic status, social and business standing, or intelligence. I was raised like the majority of the American boys, coming from a family of modest circumstances, attending public schools, having the social life of a small Midwestern town, with part-time work and some athletics. The ambition to succeed was instilled in me by my Scandinavian parents who came to this country where opportunities were so great. Keep busy. Always have something constructive to do. I did work of all kinds after school and during vacations, trying to find that which would appeal most as a goal for life work. Then there was wartime service to interrupt my plans, and an education to be picked up after the war. After that came marriage, getting started in business and a family. The story's not very different from that of thousands of other young men in my generation. It shows nothing or no one to blame for alcoholism. The drive to get ahead, to succeed, kept me too busy for many years to have any great experience with social life. I would have begrudged the time or money for alcohol. In fact, I was afraid to try it for fear that I would wind up like many examples I'd seen of excessive drinking in the Army. I was intolerant of people who drank, particularly those who drank to an extent that interfered with their on-the-job performance. In time, I became an officer and director of one of the largest commercial banks in the country. I achieved a recognized and national standing in my profession, as well as becoming a director in many of the important institutions having to do with the civic life of a large city. I had a family to be proud of, actively sharing in the responsibilities of good citizenship. My drinking did not start until I was 35 and a fairly successful career had been established. But success brought increased social activities, and I realized that many of my friends enjoyed a social drink with no apparent harm to themselves or others. I disliked being different, so ultimately, I began to join them occasionally. At first, it was just that, an occasional drink. Then I looked forward to the weekend of golf and the 19th hole. The cocktail hour became our daily routine. Gradually, the quantity increased, and the occasions for a drink came more frequently. A hard day, worries and pressure, bad news, good news. There were more and more reasons for a drink. Why did I want increasingly greater quantities of alcohol? It was frightening that drink was being substituted for more and more of the things I really enjoyed doing. Golf, hunting, fishing were now merely excuses to drink excessively. I made promises to myself, my family, and friends, and broke them. Short dry spells ended in heavy drinking. I tried to hide my drinking by going places where I was unlikely to see anyone I knew. Hangovers and remorse were always with me. The next steps were bottle hiding and excuses for trips in order to drink without restraint. Cunning, baffling, powerful. The gradual creeping up of the frequency and quantity of alcohol and what it does to a person is apparent to everyone but the person involved. When it became noticeable to the point of comment, I devised ways of sneaking drinks on the side. Rehearsals then became part of the pattern, stopping at bars on the way to or from the place where drinks were to be served. Never having enough, always craving more, the obsession for alcohol gradually began to dominate all of my activities, particularly while traveling. Drink planning became more important than any other plans. I tried the wagon on numerous occasions, but I always felt unhappy and abused. I tried psychiatry, but of course I gave the psychiatrist no cooperation. I was living in constant fear that I would get caught while driving a car, so I used taxis part of the time. Then I began to have blackouts, and that was a constant worry. To wake up at home, not knowing how I got there, and to realize that I had driven my car became torture. Not knowing where I had been or how I got home was making me desperate. It now became necessary to have noon drinks. At first just 2, then gradually more. Alright, my friends, we will stop there and come back to this in just a minute. Alright, my friends, so out of the 12 and 12, we are continuing and nearly finished with step 12, which is having had a spiritual awakening as the result of these steps. We try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. And in yesterday's reading, we were talking about the past a little bit. In fitful successes, we boasted of greater feats to be done. In defeat, we were bitter. If we didn't have much of any worldly success, we became depressed and cowed. Then people said that we were of the inferior type. But now we see ourselves as chips off the same old block. At heart, we had all been abnormally fearful. It mattered little whether we sat on the shore of life drinking ourselves in forgetfulness or plunged in recklessly and willfully beyond our depth and ability. The result was the same. All of us had nearly perished in the sea of alcohol. So now we're going to build on that idea by reading 124. But today, in well-matured AAs, these distorted drives have been restored to something like their true purpose and direction. We no longer strive to dominate or rule those about us in order to gain self-importance. We no longer seek fame and honor in order to be praised. When by devoted service to a family, friends, business, or community, we attract widespread affection and are sometimes singled out for posts of greater responsibility and trust. We try to be humbly grateful and exert ourselves the more in a spirit of love and service. True leadership, we find, depends upon able example and not upon vain displays of power or glory. Still more wonderful is the feeling that we do not have to be specially distinguished among our fellows in order to be useful and profoundly happy. Not many of us can be leaders of prominence, nor do we wish to be. Service gladly rendered, obligations squarely met, troubles well accepted or solved with God's help. The knowledge that at home or in the world outside, we are partners in a common effort. The well understood fact that in God's sight, all human beings are important. The proof that love freely given surely brings a full return. The certainty that we are no longer isolated and alone in a self-constructed prison. The surety that we need no longer be square pegs in round holes, but can fit and belong in God's scheme of things. These are the permanent and legitimate satisfactions of right living for which no amount of pomp and circumstances, no heap of material possessions could possibly be substitutes. True ambition is not what we thought it was. True ambition is the deep desire to live usefully and walk humbly under the grace of God. Wow, I love that last line. I'm going to read that one more time, free of charge. True ambition is the deep desire to live usefully and walk humbly under the grace of God. So that makes me think living usefully, living with a purpose, helping others, being of use to others, service work, not just helping other drunks, but anybody. Walking humbly. An example of integrity is doing the right thing when nobody's looking. Walking humbly. But where? Under the grace of God. This is all. Just being here and being sober today, for me, that's the grace of God on display. As I've said many times before, I feel like I've been given a second chance. So I do want to have a deep desire to serve others and to walk humbly under His grace. I'm still a screw up. I still make terrible mistakes. But I truly desire to want to do better every day and walk humbly. I love that line. I love this line too on 124. Still more wonderful is the feeling that we do not have to be specially distinguished among our fellows in order to be useful or profoundly happy. I no longer have to be the center of attention. I no longer want to be. I'd rather be a cheerleader for somebody else. It's great stuff. Great stuff. And then going back to the Big Book real fast, we can see that our friend already didn't take much time. He's a hard worker, and he makes it clear that nothing's happened in his childhood. Nothing caused him to become an alcoholic. He just was one. And I think he's another example of that. We've seen a lot that have gone out of their way to say, I had a pretty good childhood. He is another one. Right, it says right here on 348, the story is not very different from that of thousands of other young men in my generation. It shows nothing or no one to blame for alcoholism. You can't blame anybody. Once again, a lot of these business ventures, they begin with some social drinking, which turns into daily drinking. Then it turns into higher quantities. Then he starts hiding it. And then we have gotten to the point where he's having blackouts. And that panicking feeling that we've talked about many times, that starts to become a daily occurrence. And living in fear is an exhausting way to live. And we can see that his life is starting to become unmanageable already. Just 2.5 pages into the story. But my friends, if you are sober today, you are a miracle. You are a miracle. And I'm sure that those who love you are very proud of you today. I heard from an old timer last night, probably has at least 30 years of sobriety. He gave a great example. He said, sometimes I still catch myself worrying about tomorrow, playing all these scenarios out of my head of what could happen. And then I catch myself. And he said, all I have to do right now is just confess and hear myself say it to you all. And I reminded myself, my higher power doesn't want me to worry about tomorrow. All I have is right here, right now. And then he said with a smile on his face, God has helped me always in every situation to land on my feet. And I trust that He'll do it again. So why should I worry? And by the end of his share, he was happy. And he was so grateful that he had shared that. So the cathartic experience right there. And it's the truth. So that's all we have for today, guys. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I don't speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, on behalf of any religion or sect, denomination. I am just a friend in recovery, just a guy who loves these 2 books. And truly, it is an honor to be here. If we are given another set of 24 hours, I look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.